Hi everyone and welcome to this tutorial. I'm Jutta. I'm a teacher, illustrator and designer based in Germany. And in this video, we are going to Barbie up our name. So let's jump right in. I've already opened a new canvas with the dimension 3000 by 4000 pixels. And to get started, like really Barbie-ish, I'm gonna show you two different versions of a background. The first one is a pinkish one and the second one is a blue version. I've seen both of the variations already in posters and Barbie movie advertisement, so you just go with what you like best. And as usual, for this tutorial, I've uploaded a bunch of freebies for you to download. First, we have the gorgeous Barbie Up Your Name color palette, which contains a lot of pinkish hues and also two blue shades, which we're going to use for the background. And additionally, you will find my Barbie Up Your Name brush set, which contains a grid for your letters later on, a nice liner Barbie brush, and a soft shader brush. These are the only brushes and colors I've used in my artwork, so you just go ahead and download the file. You will find the link in the description box. So let's start by layer 1, adding the bright pink color shade here. And of course, you can mix up the tones however you like it. I want to get started with the bright pink. And then on the next layer, I will just add different shade of pinkish blobs to just mimic a dry stone wall. And I just show you what I mean. So I added another layer and I'm just gonna add a lot of whatever shaped blobs and spread them everywhere. Leave some space for the other colors. And then I will fill them with color. Here we can use the continue filling option in Procreate, which is really helpful. Right now I just need to tap and all the shapes are filling automatically. And then I will go on and add more shades in different pink tones until we filled our complete background. So this is our background option number 1. It's super pink and bright and I love it a lot. So we go ahead now to the layers panel and group these two layers together. And then above this group, we add another layer for the second background option. And this is even simpler. You just go and pick the darker blue shade I've added and you just draw a line right in the center of your canvas and fill the top with this darker blue shade and the bottom with a lighter blue shade. And then we go to the magic wand tool, tap Gaussian blur and swipe our pencil to the right until we get a nice gradient. Now it's time for our lettering. So you decide what you like best, either this background option number 2, let's name the layer. And now it's time for our lettering. But first of all, we need to have a look at the letters in the Barbie logo because there are quite some characteristics which are very important to depict the same style. So I opened up my Google and I Googled for Barbie movie logo and then I went to images and here is what it shows me. So let's go for the letter B first because that shows exactly how I want my lettering later on to look like. So we have like a very soft pink shade here for the letter itself and then quite a bold outline in our bright pink shade and it's a bit shifted to the right to kind of show some dimensionality. And we have a lot of glossiness here and there. on both the dark pink shade, but also on the light pink shade. And now let's have a look at the letter itself. So the B is a very bold capital. It's very round and it has those nice loops here at its end. The stems, they are always slanted at the top and have this kind of like serif indication here. And if there's some flowing end, it will always have like a circle-like swirl with a little blob at the end. Let's pick another one where we can see more letters. This is always the same throughout all the different letters. They're all squinted together. They're almost touching one another, and sometimes they are even touching each other. So the stems, as I already said, they are always slanted at the top, and they have kind of this little serif-like bottom as well. And the terminators of those bowls here, they're always flowy round and have this little blob at the very end. And then there's this outline, which is going to be moved towards the bottom right in dark pink. So let's try our best and mimic that. And of course, we don't want to copy, we just want to mimic it. And that's a huge difference. So that's why I would always recommend to make your observations beforehand. And then you close all the images and you start fresh in your new canvas. Let's open this one once more because we can see a lot of letters here, even though the quality is not the best. And I apologize for any background noise, but we still have the construction right next to us. I try my best to only speak when it's quiet, but I can't guarantee that. So here we see more of those letters. So the N in the beginning has this swirl as well, and also the P. So we can remember for our names, the first letter, the capital letter, is always very playful and probably will have this kind of swirl thingy. And the rest of the letters are lowercase letters, and the round endings always have this kind of blob, whereas the straight stems, they always have the slanted top. And then I saw two different styles. Sometimes the name is written straight and horizontal, and sometimes it's a little bit slanted upwards. When you have a very long name with a lot of letters, it might be better to go the slanted way. But if you have a short name, you could also keep it straight, whatever you like. But in the beginning, we are going to start with the straight version and then we can move it later on. Here we are back in Procreate, and I've added in my brush set, I've added a grid. It's called Grid Straight. And let's add another layer on top of our blue background. Pick the dark color and then just tap on the screen to get the grid here. We can change its size as much as we like, make it as big as we want. And what you see here is the baseline, the X height line, and the cap height line. And then I added a dashed line here and there. And these are indicating for the capital letter where the flow is going to go. Yeah, it's going to be a little bit higher than the rest of the letters, and it's going to go a little bit more down than the rest of the letters. And also, I've added one stem here. When the grid is that big, then the typical writing of the Barbie font is that thick. So let's now turn down the opacity a little bit and add a layer below. And now we're going to start sketching out our letters. So what I need is, go back to the nice liner, make it a bit small. So what I need is the letter J, which goes down here with a flow and a blob, kind of like this. Then I need a U. Then I need 2 T. And I want them to have this swirl here at the end. And also I want them to be attached to one another with this line here. And then I need letter A, which will have a blob here, and this bowl as a belly. So this is basically how I want my letters to look like. All right, let's get started with our first letter, which is gonna be my capital J here. And I'm gonna use this grid here to indicate the width of my brush. Let's go to our nice liner Barbie and then just bump up at the size to see when it's gonna match the grid here. And I guess around 28% for this canvas size. Well, I guess even a little bit bigger, maybe 29%. So this is the width I'm gonna go at least for my letter J. Probably for the lowercase letter, I'm gonna go a tiny tad thinner. And I'm just gonna mark like a bold stem here. All right. And the swirl. So I'm gonna turn down the brush size and then I will try to match those with a nice curve. And I let it snap and tap Edit Arc to just make sure I'm gonna have the ends meeting perfectly. All right, the next line. I guess it's a little bit too thin. That looks fine already. And now we just need to take care of the top. And I'm just showing you a trick. If you follow the example here and let it snap and you say Edit Line, then you can just move this erased stroke here to the top of your letter. And then you have the exact right angle which we need for the top of our letter. And then we can just go ahead and erase the rest of the stem here. And last thing we need is this tiny little serif indication. This is also something we can just draw here following this line here. And then edit and move it over to our letter where we need it, like this. Now we have it matched perfectly. And again, I apologize for the background noise. I kind of live in a very noisy surrounding. And my letter J is done. Of course, it's not positioned properly yet, but we can make sure we do that later. Let's now continue with the lowercase letters, and I recommend you to have all the letters on a separate layer, just to make sure you can move them back and forth. And sometimes it's even helpful to just have like one half of the letter in one layer and the next half on a different layer, to just make sure we can move them around until we like how it looks. And let's go back to our nice liner Barbie brush. And I guess this time I want to go with, let's see, I think I need to remove the size here. I want to go with 27% only, which is a tiny tad smaller than this stem, but I think it looks better when the lowercase letter have like a little bit of a thinner stem, otherwise it doesn't look cohesive throughout the writing. All right, so I want to continue with my letter T because I can use the stem of the T for both T's and both stems here on my letter U. So that's what I'm going to do now. All right, the stem of the T is done, and now we can just duplicate it and use it both for the U and for the other T as well. And it would work the same with an L, with the top of a B, and with a lot of those letters as well. I just noticed I kept the T on the same layer as my letter J, which is not what I want, but that's no problem at all. I'm going to show you how we can fix that. So we're going to go to the ribbon tool, whoops, and we make sure we have freehand selected, and then we draw around our letter T. And you either need to swipe 3 fingers down, or like me, double tap on your Apple Pencil, which is a function I've set on my Apple Pencil, and then we say cut and paste. Yeah, so if you get the same window if you have the default setting and you just swipe with 3 fingers down. And now we have it on the next layer, which is exactly what we want. So I'm gonna copy that right away, duplicate, and move it to the right. Keep it closely together. Then I go back to my layer 1, the bottom one, which is the original. This is something you have to remember. If you duplicate a layer, and it will lose a little bit of the quality. So you don't wanna duplicate a duplicate. Yeah, what you always want to duplicate is the original. And for that, we need to know that the duplicate is always added on top. So let's go back down, duplicate it once more. And this time I'm gonna move it below the T because it's part of my letter U. And I will move it over to my U. I wanna have it kind of here. And I will erase what I don't need later on. But I need another stem of it. So I'm going to go back here, which is the original, duplicate it, and move it next to the first stem of the U. And I move it here to the side as well. All right, so our lettering is almost done. So let's now erase what we don't need. I'm going to erase the bottom parts here because we don't need those wheels. And I will add like a nice little curve here and a little indicated serif down there. And I always will make sure with rounded letters that they reach below, a little bit below the baseline, because visually that will create exactly the cohesiveness a letter needs. That looks nice already. I'm gonna pinch all the layers that belong to you together, and now I can make the last refinements. Letter U is done as well. And what's missing right now is, of course, the line here matching our letter T's. So let's go back to our monoline brush and let's check. Let's maybe go with size 15 or so, or 16. And then we just draw a line on top of our T's. Just a thin one. Make sure it's straight. And then I want to erase the ends to make them slanted as well. Let's see, maybe like this. And I'm going to do the same once more, just to move it over to the other side to have the same angle on both ends. Awesome, like this. And then we can just erase what's too much. All right, let's move on to our letter A, for which we will add another layer and go back to the brush size of 26. And then we start with the stem. And you will notice I always have the stems going over the bottom line, which is the reason is because the ends are rounded, and when I want to erase later on, I don't want to have those half round edges left. And the rest of the letter I'm going to draw with the smaller size. All right, I guess that looks good. Let's turn off the sketch and the grid and check if our letters are cohesive. I guess here we need a little bit of a thicker stroke as well as the bottom of the U. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I guess I like that, how that looks now. And the next step is to move everything into the center. And let's turn off the grid and see what we've got so far. That looks fantastic. It's still a little bit boring, but we take care of that in a second. We need a few steps more now. What we want to add now is the pinkish background of the letters. And for that, we need to group all the letters. If you want to save on layers, you can also just pinch the layers together to merge them all into one layer. But I want to just keep it as a group in case I want to have some more adjustments. So what I'm going to do now is I duplicate this group, and the duplicate is what I'm flattening. Now we have all the letters on one layer, and I'm going to move this one to the bottom below our group. And this layer is what I'm going to turn dark now. So I'm going to tap it, I'm going to select it, and then I pick the darkest color here in my color palette, and I will say fill layer. Here we go. So as you can see, if I turn off the group, you see it's very dark now. And this is a very important step now. So it's not complicated. It's just a few steps in a row that are really important. So we're on the dark layer, which we can't see right now. We go to the magic wand, to Gaussian blur, and we blur this layer by, let's say, 12%. All right, step number 1, blur this layer. Okay, now we go to the ribbon tool, to the selection tool, and we make sure we have automatic selected. And then we tap just somewhere in the background. So you can see now everything all around the Gaussian blur here is selected. And we can swipe with our brush to make it smaller or bigger as you want. I guess I want to go a little bit smaller. Yes, I guess I like that. The threshold was with 2.1. All right, and now the last important step is I invert it. Now everything in here is selected, but everything, the background, not. And that's exactly what we want. So we are going to add another layer on top of the black blurred one. And we're gonna pick the second to last pink color. And we say fill layer. And now we have added our beautiful pink outline. How gorgeous looks that already? Great. So we don't need this blurred black layer any longer. We can just delete it, but we need a copy of the layer, the pink layer we just created. So we duplicate it, we put it towards the bottom, and then we move it to the bottom right, but I guess we need to turn off snapping for that. And then we move it to the bottom right until we like it. You go with however deep you want it to be. And that looks fantastic already, very Barbie-ish. So what we need to do now is we have those kind of weird edges here, which we don't want. We want it to be like a thick block letter. And that means we need to match those layers. We need to match those ends here with our brush. We just use the nice letter Barbie. Brush size should be okay. And it doesn't matter on which of the both layer we are. We just draw a line to match both ends. And we can use the edit line function. And then we just fill the space here in between. All right, and this is what we're gonna do here at the U, here at the T's, here at the A, and I guess here at the J. So I'm gonna speed up the video and finish those matchings. Awesome. And in our last step, we need to add the shimmer and the shade. All right, so we want to add those two layers here. We want to pinch them together and then duplicate them once more. Put the duplicate to the bottom. We say select, and it doesn't really matter if we still have automatic selected, but it just gives it a weird color. And we pick our dark color here and we say fill layer. All right, so we tap the magic wand, we go to Gaussian blur and add a little bit of a blur to this layer. I am with 4%. And then I want to move this layer to the bottom right as well to just create this kind of shadow underneath. So this adds a lot of dimensionality already. I want to have the same below our light letters here though. So I'm gonna go ahead and duplicate my group again, tap flatten, move it towards the bottom. And then again, I say select, I pick this dark purple shade here, and I say fill layer. And then again, go to Gaussian blur and blur until, let's say, 4% again. And then we tap the arrow and we move it to the side to just create some depth below the letters. Oh, how gorgeous. So there's two more shading steps that are missing, and I'm probably gonna speed up the video again. So what I'm gonna do in my first step is I will give the outline of our letters a little bit of a darker shadow. So and this is where we have to flatten our group now because we want to add a clipping mask. So let's flatten our group. Let's add another layer on top and turn it into a clipping mask. All right, next is we need our soft shader brush. It creates a very soft shade in your image, and this is what we indicate like that the letters are a little bit rounded towards the edges. So let's see. I want to pick this dark pinkish color next to the white color, and I'm just going to go along our letters to create, I hope you can see that in the the video to create just like a shadow which indicates that it's fading away towards the edge. And I'm going to speed up the video for that, just increase the brush size a little bit, and then I just go all around my letters. All right, and the next step, the last step that is missing is giving the highlights. And here we can be quite loose, quite playful, and add as many and as light of highlights as we want. And I'm going to show you how we're going to do that. We will add another layer, which is not a clipping mask. We will go to our white color, and we stay with our soft shader brush, and then we just indicate light, like we need to go a little bit smaller, light lines here and there, wherever we think we need it. You can also add them here, and as light as we want. And as soon as we start doing that, the letters are gonna be brought to life. So let's go ahead and do that everywhere. And you guys, here we go. We have it. That looks fantastic. So we need to group everything one last time, all the layers that belong to letters, and then we can make sure we move it where we want it to be. So I would recommend, if you want to keep it straight, you just move it where you want to have it in the center, kind of, the visual center. Or you can also make a copy of those groups here and turn one off. And the next one, you can just make slanted. And let's also turn off the blue background and check how it looks with the pink one. Oh, so pink! How gorgeous is that? All right, so you go with what you like best, and I really hope you liked what we came up with. I guess I prefer the blue background. You could use it as your new avatar. It's just so fun and the colors are super vibrant. And if you've liked this tutorial, please comment and tell me what you like, and even tell me what you want to see next. Leave a like and share it with your friends. And the most important thing to support my channel is, of course, subscribing to get notified whenever I upload a new tutorial. Thank you so much for watching and staying with me, and I will see you in my next tutorial. Bye!